everyone, and welcome to this episode of Morning Atamai. My name is Merenita Setu, and I will be your host for today. Today, we would like to welcome the lovely Mr. Adam Konrote from the Department of Health, and we will turn over the time just so he can give us just a quick peek into his daily life at the Department of Health as an epidemiologist, what he does for our community, and how he assists our people.
Thank you. Glad to be here. My name is Adam Konrote. I'm an infectious disease epidemiologist working for the Department of Health. I currently serve as the acting territorial epidemiologist for the territory. My daily work involves surveillance. My office oversees all forms of surveillance throughout the territory relating to infectious diseases. So this is lab confirmed diseases, this is notifiable diseases, and syndromic surveillance in the clinics. So if there's any patient information relating to infectious diseases, it goes through my office. And that's basically what I do. I process that information and I help our leadership make decisions based off of it.
So, how do you, as an epidemiologist, find out when like a disease is currently spreading throughout our community? Are you guys like the first group to know, or will we have to bring by testings for you guys?
That is a great question. If I am not the first person to know that there's an outbreak, I am failing at my job. So basically, how it works is all the diseases that we know affect the territory have been taken and classified, and each disease has been given what's known as an outbreak threshold. Now, once our labs start detecting a certain disease, we take that data, we run it against the outbreak threshold, and we see, are we seeing case numbers higher than our expected threshold? And if we do see that these case numbers are going above the threshold, then that's grounds for declaration of an outbreak. So certain diseases have really high thresholds, like influenza, which is common. It's just the common cold. Everyone gets it. So you can have 100 cases and we still won't declare an outbreak. But then we have other diseases like dengue that have much lower thresholds, where the threshold for an outbreak declaration for dengue is actually only one case. So yeah, that's basically how we declare outbreaks.
Okay. So in terms of outbreaks and so forth, sorry if I'm not using the proper language. What are some of the challenges you guys do face, for border security purposes? Like how do you guys address those issues that are incoming and, are not spread locally but are spread with incoming?
So currently, our biggest issue when it comes to border security is basically the people. I believe currently there is a lack of understanding on the importance of border surveillance. And so just setting up a surveillance system at the border. So I don't know if you've traveled through Samoa or Talofa Airways. When you get off the plane, there's a team of DOH personnel that are there to screen you. And so a lot of people are really frustrated with that system because they don't understand why it's there. So we get a lot of feedback online, in the news, in the media about why the hell are we doing this? It's a waste of time. People are standing in lines for long periods of time just to get through and get their bags and then go home. They're coming from a trip, they're tired. They don't really want to go through another checkpoint. But the reality is, if we don't catch these diseases at the border and they get into the community, they can spread beyond our control and we may not be able to respond in time. So the point of border surveillance is to identify these diseases before it gets into our community, basically preventing any possible severe outcomes or deaths. And we want to do this before it gets the chance to get into the population. And I think that's something we need to work on as the Department of Public Health, is ensuring that the public is made aware of this. We improve our informational materials and our community engagement because we want the public to understand why we're doing this. And it's not just to annoy you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Screening. As you've mentioned, within the airport and through other outlets or, our seaports or borders, are all your screenings the same process for vulnerable populations in terms of able-bodied? Like, are they all treated equally or are they separated?
Yes. So the screening process is the same. The tools that we use are the same. However, when it comes to vulnerable populations or people living with disabilities, the onus is on the screening team, which is basically the nurses and the doctors at the ports, to identify that this person may require additional attention and therefore adjust their screening processes to that person. However, we try to ensure that it's equitable across the board. What we do for everyone is the same, standardized across, but that doesn't mean that we're not able to make adjustments on the fly to adjust for vulnerable communities.
In terms of pandemics, I
Yes.
know we've only experienced one. Well, I've only experienced one pandemic. So, kind of, what have you learned as an epidemiologist from COVID-19, and how is it influencing, the methods and tools that you guys are using today?
That is also a very good question. um, so, what COVID 19 taught me was the importance of proper community engagement. COVID 19 caught the world by surprise, and there was a lot of rash decisions that were made very quickly with very little community consultation. And so, as a result, all of these initiatives received a lot of anger and frustration from the general public because there was a lack of understanding of why we were doing it. And so, what we're doing currently with the Department of Health under our current leadership is we're trying our best to engage the community as much as possible. You may have noticed our social media is currently pushing tons of information and material on diseases. We're having press conferences every 2 to 3 weeks just to get the information out. And so, our job right now is to make sure that if we do anything, the community understands the importance of it and why we're doing it, so that when we do roll out drastic changes, it's not a surprise and it's not causing fear, basically. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Because your job does deal with the general population, so I know what departments you guys work closely with, just to help you guys establish that relationship with the public, kind of to get the news out there, and kind of what outreaches do you guys do? Public outreaches like to homes or villages? Because I know some do not have access, to the media and conferences, so how do you guys go about, and how do you guys ask for assistance from other departments?
So, for me personally, my office works closely with LBJ Hospital. As the only hospital on island that provides tertiary care, it is the only site that I'm able to get certain statistics or information on diseases of interest. But we also do work with the Department of Education, the Department of Salmon Affairs, Agriculture, and these departments help us get access to their communities that they already have outreach programs to. DOE lets us into the schools. A good example of the DOE connection was I believe the RSV outbreak that we had last year. We closed the schools for about 3 weeks. And also, DHSS played a very big part in that because they also have control of the daycares. So that relationship allowed us to get into the schools and close them down and isolate the children before we could have widespread RSV. Admittedly, we still did have very high numbers, but we don't know how high those numbers could have been had we not closed those schools. Additionally, we work closely with Salmon Affairs. Right now, we're working with them through our environmental health division. Currently, they're working with the mayors to get out community awareness on dengue. So, cleanup campaigns, how to prepare in the event of a dengue outbreak, what to look for mosquito breeding sites, things like that. And that's being championed by our director right now, actually.
So much for all that information. Um, I'm currently enrolled here at ACC, as you already know. So I want to ask for my fellow students who are interested in becoming epidemiologists or even majoring in the health field. What advice do you have for students who are interested in that field or kind of looking towards becoming an epidemiologist?
Okay. Before I make academic recommendations, the first recommendation is you have to be interested in it because outside of an outbreak, it can be a bit dry, and unless you have a passion for it, you will get bored very fast when. And they say a bored epidemiologist is a good epidemiologist because you're doing your job. But basically, you need to have an interest for public health and a love for the job. I personally have an undergraduate degree in public health and a master's in applied epidemiology, which I pursued because through my undergraduate, I actually attended this one epidemiology course. And we had this lecturer that explained to us how epidemiology is the cornerstone of public health. And I was like, okay, wow, that sounds really interesting. I want to learn more about that. So I looked into it and I found epidemiology to be very interesting because I like making sense of information. So I'm the guy that will be sitting at a laptop staring at big spreadsheets, trying to figure out what those numbers mean, how they correlate to public health, all of that. So if you like that, epidemiology is the job for you. Currently, I've gone through the ASCC curriculum, and currently you have two programs that incorporate public health components. I believe this is PH 102 and PH 160. Now, this is a good foundation for public health and the specialties in it. If you're interested and you're attending ASCC, I recommend you start off there. And if it catches your attention, then you can pursue further studies off island into epidemiology or public health, because public health is actually a very broad category of courses. You have public health itself, you have health service management, you have health promotion, epidemiology, you have dietetics and nutrition. There are so many things you can do in the field of public health. So I recommend that as a starting point. And who knows, maybe in the next few years, ASCC will incorporate a public health undergraduate program. Because fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for that. I know they are kind of working to kind of bring more programs for us. So again, we'd like to thank you. But before we end our episode today, we just want to ask if you have any advice for our general public of how to stay safe, during these times of outbreaks and viruses that are going around, and kind of how to see some signs of what to look out for and how we can learn more.
Sure. The current biggest issue that we are currently pursuing is dengue. As we mentioned in our press conference, you can head to the DOH Facebook page and view a copy of our press conference where we went over dengue. Currently, there's an outbreak of dengue in Western Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, and French Polynesia. And so the advice we've put out is that people traveling back from these countries, within 2 weeks of your return, if you do notice any symptoms, whether it be fever, headaches, body pains, nausea, vomiting, and bleeding, we request that you please immediately report to your nearest DOH health center or LBJ hospital for treatment and notify your physician that you've recently returned from one of these countries. To stay safe locally, we recommend wearing long sleeve clothing at dusk and dawn, using mosquito repellent when necessary, and avoiding mosquito prone areas as much as possible. We're currently working with the Environmental Health Unit to increase our community spraying and prevention measures. And if you'd like more information, you can visit our Facebook page, our website, or call 219 and request to talk to a physician or any specialist, and we can relate you to them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So to our viewers, if you are interested in learning more, as mentioned by Mr. Konrote, you can call their call center at 219, or if you want to talk to him directly, you can reach out through 699-4606. They do have a website. It is the https doh.as, as well as their Facebook page, where they are actively promoting how to keep safe and what to look out for. So hop on Facebook on the American Samoa Department of Health. As for our Pacific Standard Human Security, if you're interested in our programs and to learn more about what we do here, we have a Facebook page at Pacific Standard Human Security, as well as our website, pchs.amsamoa.edu. So tune in, visit us, give us a call if you would like to learn more. And once again, we do really want to thank you, Mr. Adam Konrote, for your time. I know you're very busy ensuring we are not dealing with the pandemic or any viruses at this time. We're sorry to take that time out, and we are very grateful for all you guys do at the Department of Health, and we truly, truly thank you guys.